Hello, hello, hello. Incredible greetings, everyone. How art thou? How art thou? How art thou? How art thou? All right, let me get this all shared out, and then we're going to get into some design work and some questions for the three main programs that I go to for designing. I have other programs that I use, and they serve specific purposes, but they are design programs that are needed. But I use these three pretty much on a regular, and that is Silhouette Studio, Canva, and Photoshop. And these are the ones that I get asked most about when it comes to designing and people trying to figure things out. So we're going to talk a little bit about these three programs and how they fit into your design life and what each program offers. All right. So if you are watching the playback of this, if you're not, on live while I'm doing this intro, let us know in the comment section which programs are you using, which programs are you interested in learning or have began learning, and feel free to drop any questions that you may have in the chat or in the comments, and we will either do another video, and address some of those questions, or I'll even normally I can go in and just kind of answer it right then and there if it's a simple enough question. But we want to hear from you in the comments so that we can make sure that we are putting out the content that you actually need and you can take action on. Okay, if you're watching over on YouTube, make sure that you guys subscribe to the channel. Follow us over on YouTube follow us on Facebook as well. There's a couple different places there. So either 365 Creative Academy. We also have our Honestly Speaking Facebook page. And then we have several groups. Silaholics Anonymous, for those who are interested in getting more help with Silhouette Studio, Honestly Speaking, which is kind of like a melting pot of everything. And then I plan to do a lot more. I haven't done a whole lot with Canva Can't Do That, which is our Canva group. But I plan to do a lot more in the summer. Don't have to kind of wake up as early and so I plan to do a little bit more because my mornings and things will be a little bit free. I don't have to rush off to go get the little one. So we plan to do a lot with that one. So go ahead and join that group as well. I'll make sure I come back and put the links for those and the tags for those in the comment section, because I did forget to put them in the description. But there are some helpful links in the description if you guys go ahead and check that out. So I still need to, because I produced this little live broadcast myself. I don't have anyone kind of running the back end, so I have to share this out. But this light is off. Let me turn this on. Don't talk about my background. It's a little messy back there. So yeah, the way my light works, I have to hit it 3 times to get it on the right setting, because it's like a yellow light and then a bright light and all this other stuff. So yeah. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and get this shared out. If you guys can hit that share button as well, even if you just hit copy link or share it with a friend, tag a friend, let's get some folk on. I know it is kind of the middle of the day for some folks. It's lunchtime, so maybe I'm catching some of you guys on your lunch break, or you're just look, I'm gonna just throw my little ear pods in. I'm gonna just listen to what the professor has to say so that I can go back and watch this. I highly recommend catching us on one of the YouTube channels. I'm streaming to all three, and you guys go in and save this as one of your favorites. So put it on your own private playlist, for watch later, things of that nature, so that you can go back to it. If you are someone who is watching right now and you're at work and you can't fully engage and really pay attention to the screen, go ahead right now, go to save, hit save, and then just save it to your watch later list. Okay. But drop a hey, how you doing? Let me know who's on, who's watching, where you all are watching from. And then let me get this all shared out and change my audience. Oh yeah, because this is definitely not broadcasting to anyone other than me. Ooh, why is it doing that? Why is it? Okay, wait. Let's see something here. Oh, why? Why won't it let me change my audience? Hold on, y'all. It's not allowing me to change my audience off of wait. Did Facebook change something? Oh, I don't like that. All right, hold on, y'all. Something funky is going on here. Let's figure this out. Wow. It's not letting me. That's so weird. It's not letting me change. I've never had that happen before. For some reason, do they have me blocked when it comes to us names? It's like it won't let me change this from only me. Alrighty, hold on. Let's try to rectify this. Okay, let's go over here. I can't even delete the post. I'm sorry, y'all. We're having a little bit of technical difficulty. So if you can just bear with me while I try to fix this. I'll greatly appreciate it. Hold on. Okay, let's see here. All right, that's the other one. All right, well, I can't get the one on Facebook to go live, so we'll see. Don't know what's going on with that. All right. Okay, there we go. So now I should be able to, all right, edit post. All right, it still won't let me change it off. It won't let me change the, it won't let me change the, what's this thing called? It won't let me change the audience. So yeah, alrighty then. Alrighty. Okay, let's see here. Copy, share now. So I'm going to have to, which, you know what? It's a blessing in disguise because I did say that I want to move away from Shaquille Lavelle and you guys watching there. And I need to get you guys acclimated with following me over on 365 Creative Academy on my Facebook page. So, you know, that ain't nothing but God. That ain't nothing but because I have said that I want to push the content over there. So you know what? I can't even be mad because it is what I have asked. You know, it's things I've been praying on is just to really get that particular platform built up so that I can utilize Shaquille Lavelle like in a slightly different way. So we're going to go ahead and just share this out this way because, yeah, it is what it is. Now, I don't think it's going to be approved in this particular group because it has other stuff, but we will see. And I'm trying to get this bad boy all shared out. Okay. All right, there we go. Incredible afternoon, incredible morning. If you're somewhere where it's still morning. So hello, hello, hello. Incredible greetings, incredible greetings. All right. Now, let's go ahead and really get into this thing. All right. Let me minimize that. And we're going to open up Canva here, close that down, and then we will have Silhouette Studio and Photoshop available as well. All right, so let's get into this intro and then break this all down. All right. If you can hear me, clap once or just put a one in the chat. I just want to make sure you guys can't hear me because, y'all know, sometimes audio be acting crazy. Hello, Lamont, how art thou? And I think it's over there, Chrissy. Hello. So I am Shaquille Lavelle, also known as Shakia, the professor, or I like to say the creative professor. Some of my students like to call me the dean, but you know, I am known in these creative streets as the professor. Our company is HS Inc. 365. We are the home of the Honestly Speaking brand of products. That is a line of amazing sublimation paper and ink. Our sublimation paper allows you to sublimate as low as 365 degrees, as fast as 30 seconds, no butcher paper required. So you're going to get it done quicker, faster, and more efficiently, and saving you time and money. So check that out. The link for that is in the description of this video, hsinc365.com. Most of you guys know me and have been with me on this journey for nearly a decade, well, actually a decade now. And that was through all of my trainings and things for Silhouette Studio. And I created this community, this business, this name, it's just amazing. And it was Silaholics Anonymous because I became addicted to it. And then where do you go at when you have an addiction? You go to one of these like anonymous, like support groups. And that's what I started many, many years ago. With YouTube videos and a Facebook group that's still free. So you can go in there and ask questions and things of that nature. And then we have different tutorials and things available on our YouTube channel, both long and short form videos, pre-recorded and some live. I absolutely love Silhouette Studio. I don't think I will ever not have it in my creative toolbox because there's so many things that you can do in this program that you cannot do in others, even, the ones like Photoshop or Illustrator. And I know everybody loves Canva, but there are some things that Canva just cannot natively do at this time. And they're not a vector-based program. So there's a really big difference between creating things that are vector and raster, and their benefits are different. There's benefits to both methods of designing depending on what is you're trying to do. So we have a teaching platform, okay? That's 365 Creative Academy, but just my brand in general is about teaching and educating. I don't really do kind of show and tell and tutorials and things of that nature. Oh gosh, I swear. These online platforms just won't let me be great. All right, are we back? Let me know if we're back. No, once I share my keeps going in and out. But once I share my screen, it doesn't matter what platform you're on. Everyone will see the exact same thing. So it doesn't matter if you're viewing over on Facebook. Oh God. Let's see. Hopefully it won't go out again. Let me know if you guys can see and hear me now. Because one is showing good signal, the other one is not. So let me know. Let me know. Okay, I'm not seeing any responses. So I'm starting to think that you guys cannot see me and this thing has knocked me offline because I'm not seeing any responses, which means they probably cannot hear me. Oh my gosh, this is so frustrating sometimes. All right, I think I'm going to have to start this whole thing over. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to start all over. So I think we are back. Let me know if you guys can hear me. If you let me know if it's clear, I think someone says I was blurry. So let me know if it is clear. If you guys can hear me, let me know. Alrighty. I don't know. Can somebody let me know if you can hear me? Is anybody there? I see numbers of people watching, but I'm not seeing comments. So I need to know if I need to restart this live video. Okay. Hi, Miss Gladys. How art thou? Okay, you guys can hear me. You can see me. Okay, perfect. All right. So I'm not going to go through the whole intro again, but I was on the part was saying, I do a lot of teaching. For me, teaching and giving full on instruction is just giving background, giving you full understanding. I know that nowadays people's attention span is very, very, very short. Everything now is just popcorn, and it's like instant gratification. You're getting everything so quickly, with being able to just type something in and get an answer, especially with AI. But you need to have, sometimes it is still good to like really get like the background and just get like all the information, because even with my kids, I know that they can go in and type things up on the internet, get definitions and things of that nature. But I'm like, no, this year, starting with this summer, when they need to know how to spell something, there is no more like just kind of typing it in online. You are going into a dictionary. I told Zion Imani that, I told MJ that, because I think we're relying on it too much. It's not a bad thing. It needs to be an asset for us, like in all the technology, but sometimes being relying on it too much, I think it just affects just a lot of things when it comes to learning. So I am one where I still love to break things down. You may feel like you don't need it, but if you know that you are constantly asking this, like, be honest with yourself. You got to be honest. Our brand is honestly speaking. You know that you are constantly confused about things that that you should probably know, because you're not super, super new to this. You kind of heard it before. You've seen people do certain things, but for some reason, it's just not sticking. And it's because you're getting it like the quick way. You just want to get to the thing, and you're not figuring out like exactly why certain things are happening. So when you figure it out because someone does a class, someone does a tutorial, someone, makes a post about something, and it's like, oh, okay, I get that. And you might try it, but then you try and do it for something else, and it's like something's not clicking. Why is this not working? This is where you start to doubt yourself. You start to blame yourself. You start to overthink things. And it's because you just don't have the foundation and just the true understanding of how things work. My platform, and my brand from day one has been about making sure that you are fully equipped. And for me, I feel like you are fully equipped when you fully understand, or have a good understanding, a decent understanding of how things work, how programs work. To me, this will keep you from spending an ungodly amount of time in the wrong program, trying to make it do something that it's simply not going to do. And you now feel like, oh my God, like, especially if you're in this for business, they're not paying me enough for this. I spent hours doing this. And sometimes it doesn't take hours or days to do it. You just did not know the proper way to do it because you spent time in the wrong program. I am dedicated to helping you guys understand how each of these programs work, how they fit in your life, and where their benefits, where their pros and cons are in the world of design. If you are someone that does not use Canva, Silhouette Studio, or Photoshop, and you're using different programs, let me know what programs you are using in the chat, whether you're watching it live or the playback, and I can potentially break that down to let you know, okay, the program that you're using, you're going to get the best use out of it doing this type of design. If you're wanting to do X, Y, and Z, you're going to need this. Or let me know in the chat the type of designs that you want to be able to create, so that I can suggest what program is going to be best for you to invest your time into learning. Okay. All right. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into this. So as I mentioned, I use Silhouette Studio, Canva, Photoshop. Is there anyone here that use any of those three softwares? And let me know in the chat if you're using one, two, or all of those particular programs: Silhouette Studio, Canva, and Photoshop. And I think there might be a delay, especially since we were going in and out from when I'm saying things and you guys are hearing it. All right. So I see Silhouette Studio and Photoshop. So not Canva. Okay. I see just Silhouette over here with Nancy. I like to see Silhouette because I think people really sleep on Silhouette and what it can do. It doesn't have all the fancy AI things where it's like a click of a button or type something in, it'll just do it. But you can do a lot. Like it does take time, energy, effort, and like actually clicking around and doing things, which you can do so much with Silhouette Studio. Silhouette, but learning Canva. Okay. All right, hold on one second. Let me do something real quick here. I think my internet, I don't know. See, this screen isn't moving, so I think my internet might be messing up again. All right. Okay. All right. So just Silhouette, Canva, Photoshop. So the question right now is, are you using any of these programs? Silhouette Studio, Photoshop, and Canva. So let's break down what these programs are and how they can be useful for you. So, of course, we're going to start with Silhouette because I love Silhouette Studio. I built a whole brand around it. So, Silhouette Studio, it is the program that can control these machines, right? So, Silhouette America, they have 12-inch, 15 and 24-inch machines that are called Cameos. They also have a 9-inch machine that's called Portrait. They also have one that's for embossing, debossing, stippling. It also has cut features, which is the Curio. They had a 3D printer. I'm not sure if it's still in production, which is the Alpha. And they have a stamp making apparatus or like machine, and that is the Mint. Okay. So although the program is ideally meant for you to design and be able to send a project to either of those machines, it is also a really good standalone graphic designing software. Now, this is a program that you cannot use from a mobile device. There is a web-based version. They're still kind of working on that. The functionality of it is a little bit different, but there is a web-based one. It's just not the greatest. You're going to get the most out of this particular program by using it on a computer, whether it's a desktop, a laptop, a MacBook, an iMac, things of that nature. You cannot use a Windows Chrome. It has to be a system that has a Windows operating system or a Mac operating system. It cannot be like the Chromebooks, okay? So you would go to their website, silhouetteamerica.com, and you're going to download the base software. There are paid upgrades. They're just one-time upgrades. This is not a sponsored video. However, I do have affiliate links if you are someone who is interested in getting the upgraded version. I recommend, if you can swing it right now, go to Business Edition, but Designer Edition opens up a lot of features for you as well. So it's a one-time thing to unlock all of these different features. So it's not something you have to pay for monthly, which is appealing to a lot of people. It does not have a lot of like AI integrations like like Canva. And you have to really do a lot of things like you can trace, which is like a click of a button, kind of put some things around it, but you have to do like some manual work. Like any other program, if you're doing something that's text-based, all programs are the same. You're going to have to go to the font, to put it on there, type it in. Now, there are some things that Silhouette doesn't have, like others, where like being able to just click a button to go from all lowercase to all caps or sentence case, things of that nature. But as far as like typing out text, filling it in with color, resizing it, things of that nature, you do it the same way that you would do it in any design software. Silhouette Studio is what's called a vector-based software. Vector-based basically means that you are creating with a lot of shapes. Everything essentially is a shape or a closed path. It's not like Photoshop where you're working with those gray and white pixels, and the more pixels you have, the smoother something will look. Compared to if you don't have as many, that's when you start to see like those like little lines and stuff, because everything is a square pixel. You can't really smooth it off. In order for you to have these smooth looking lines, you just have to make your pixel sizes much smaller so that they're closer together. But when you're using bigger pixels like 96 or 100 or 72 DPI, it's going to be less pixels. So they like the squares are bigger and you can see more of those points. But with a program like that, it gives you the ability to create transparencies. It gives you the ability to do like feathered out areas, like brush strokes, and everything is just kind of faded at the edge. With vector, everything is going to have a defined edge. And when you're filling things in with color, it's just like a flood of color. It's not different pixels. So when something is designed and saved, that's really, really important. People always say, oh, vectorize it to where you can resize it. No, it has to be it still has to be in a vector format, meaning just living on the Silhouette platform or in the Illustrator platform. It has to be saved as an Illustrator file or an EPS file or an SVG file or a DXF file or a PDF file, like from a vector program. And those will maintain their their clarity as you're blowing it up, because it's in layers that's filled with color. Once you flatten something, meaning turning it into a JPEG, turning it into a PNG, that becomes a bitmap or a rasterized image, and it's now full of pixels. And depending on how it was designed, once you blow it up, you can experience some blurriness and distortion, right? So with Silhouette Studio, because it's vector-based, like I said, it's all shapes and things, but you can do things like crop, or if you are a Cricut user, I'm going to use the term like slice, and you can split things apart, create voids and gaps. Crop in Silhouette Studio is different than crop in like Photoshop or Canva or even like Illustrator. Like in Illustrator, it's like divide or gosh, I can't think of the term like in Illustrator right now. It's I'm looking at the Pathfinder panel, but it's just escaping my mind and like how that is. But crop is different. So it's important to understand the terminology of each program, because there are some words that are the same, but they don't do the same function. So crop in Silhouette Studio is not the same as crop in Photoshop. It's not the same as crop in Canva. All right. And you can recreate things like good logos are designed in vector-based programs. Silhouette Studio is like, some people will say the poor man's Photoshop, but it's more like the poor man's Illustrator. I'm shrinking, like this chair is going down. It's like the poor man's Illustrator, because Illustrator is the Adobe vector version, whereas Photoshop is like the bitmap version. And there's like so many things that you can do, like liquefy things and warp things and stuff like that. Okay. So that's Silhouette Studio. Photoshop is one where, like I said, you can have different artboards now, having things in layers. Silhouette Studio has layers, but it's a little bit different. You can see like a little small thumbnail of what it's in each layer in Photoshop. That can make it a little bit easier to design. You have layer styles. It's easy to copy styles and things in Photoshop, because you would just go copy layer style and then paste it, and you can like you don't have to redo it every single time. Whereas in Silhouette Studio, if I wanted like an offset around, like I just typed out 10 names and I need offsets around them, I need shadows around them, I would have to do that individually for each one of them versus being able to like type it all out and then just go copy layer style. And I still have to do like each one individually, but I just have to click on it and just go paste. So even if I had 5 different effects on it, all 5 of those effects would apply to that name or that element. So that's like, you know, some of the key things of Photoshop. Like I said, you can blur things off. You can create softer edges of things. You can blend things better to remove blemishes, or you have a timestamp on something and you want to remove that timestamp. Photoshop also has a lot of things like, you know, as far as like photography and changing lighting. And I love like the puppet effect. You have content aware fill. I'm always teaching my students in my creative business program, or we're having discussions about like taking pictures. So we've talked about this on multiple occasions where when you're taking pictures of your products, you don't want to necessarily like zoom all the way in because it's going to affect your lighting. It's going to affect the quality of this image. It is okay to take a picture that's a little bit, you know, it's zoomed out a little bit. Yes, you might see your walls, you might see the mess and the junk on the side, but you have like a nice little backdrop. But in order to really get the light in and for you to see it, you may have to hold your phone or your camera back and you might see the things on the side. That is okay. Even with professional photographers, they may have those, you know, pieces on the side, and they're going to use a program like Photoshop where they're going to, you know, either erase certain things out, clone, but most commonly they'll use this feature called content aware fill, and they will fill in those areas and it will pick up from like whatever that background is and then fill that out and like just make it really smooth. And now they can go in and do more editing to it. A lot of things that you see, you know, for models or on websites and things of that nature, it's not shoot and post. It's shoot, they're going to edit it, and then you're going to see it. This is something that I teach those in my creative business program, because taking product pictures as a creative and you want to be able to post it on the internet, you know, that's a big frustration. So we would use Photoshop for something like that to kind of enhance the pictures. So that's where that program, even if you never use it for design, that's where that can come in handy. Photoshop also has things called like smart objects. If you are somebody who does, like let's say party favors, and there's so many different, you know, party favors, like printable things that folks will print out, like chip bags, water bottle labels, Capri Suns, invitations, gable box covers. And you're going to use pretty much like the same images. You might use the same text. So instead of having this design, like in Silhouette Studio, I would have to create the like each one of them. And if I wanted to change out the picture, I would have to go in and change out that picture on each one. Whereas in Photoshop, if I put a smart object layer like in a spotlight for the main focal one, all I have to do is click on one of those, change that, and it will instantly change it everywhere else. If my text is a smart object and I change the font, I change the color, I don't have to go to each individual one and change it. Photoshop has smart objects. You go in, you change that font, you change the color, you put a shadow, you put a border, you put a glow, whatever it is, and it will change everywhere. Now, you do have to like change the sizing of things, and that's one of the good things too with it, where if you have one that's really, really big and this one is small, even when you make the changes to either one, it's not going to like make the small one now big or the big one now small. They stay at their proportions, but it takes on all of the effects. So it's stuff like that that you can do in Photoshop. So that's for what we do, right? So there's a lot more that you can do with Photoshop, but just speaking to my audience and who I've been teaching for 10 years, those who are in the space of making custom t-shirts, making memorial, like, obituaries, making birthday shirts, making party favors, making banners, and things of that nature. So as it relates to how we would design, these are just some of the of just scratching the surface of how you would utilize Photoshop. Okay. And now Canva is the new kid on the block. But what's appealing with Canva, unlike Photoshop, although Photoshop does have a library of stock images and things like that that you can use, it takes up a lot. It can take up space on your computer, and then it's kind of going outside of it to bring it back in. So Studio, there is nothing really there. Like, you have to bring in everything or add it to your library. So you can have some elements, but you're limited on space in your library for these elements, and you still have to like really bring them in. You have to still go search for them, bring them in. Canva is a design software that is more so like, it's not a full-on raster, but it's also not vector. Like, it's a very unique design software. But you can do all the same things. You can add text. It does have things that Silhouette doesn't. So you can put true drop shadows that have feathered like edges. You can do blurs. You can do glows. You can remove, like, easily remove backgrounds. Whereas in Silhouette Studio, only if it's a simple background, you can trace and detach. But Canva has a large library of what's called elements, and you don't have to go and a lot of times search the internet, especially for basic things like hearts or circles or blurs, spears, globes, birds, flowers. Like, I mean, it's so much there. There's stock videos, there's stock backgrounds. So if you were someone that wanted to create a background, like you have green screen, if you're doing Zooms and you didn't want it to look like, you didn't want, my background, I didn't want my background to show. There are things in Canva where I can take that and then I can then use it as basically a green screen and an image behind me. Like, there's so many elements there. Canva has a really, really big AI component to it, unlike any other program, where just by typing out words, you can recreate things, you can switch out things, you can, now they have like sheets, so it's like kind of like Excel spreadsheets. You can create tables and lists and things of that nature. You can animate things, whereas Photoshop, you cannot. Like, here you can animate it and add where things will fly in, or they'll flicker, they'll bounce. It allows you to save it in so many different file formats. You can use it for design. You can use it to create digital products, ebooks, files. People use it to create, they call them design templates. I just call them edible designs or edible files, because to me, a template is just giving you the shape. That's just by my definition. But you can also create things, like utilize it for your business. I use it for thumbnails. Some people who are really big into content creation and they are making their money that way, they need to make aesthetically pleasing Instagram posts and things of that nature. They have sponsored things. They can go in there and edit these pictures, put outlines and mix and match, and just kind of create all sorts of movement to it. So it's a really, really useful tool. None of these would ever satisfy all of my creative needs by themselves. It truly, for my business and just like really every day, because I use it for a lot of personal stuff too, I rotate between these. To me, Canva is that like software. It's like, it's really what was needed between Silhouette Studio and Photoshop. Like, it just completed the set. Although I have editing software for I use it for video editing. So it's amazing for that as well. I've spent plenty of money, I mean good money, on video editing software. And, there are some, on the basic level, you can do a lot in Canva. And so for me, it was just that bridge. Like, it just completed the set. So I personally cannot survive without, at this point now, I can't survive without those three, as well as my Chat GPT. Well, and now Gemini. So I love Gemini too. Like, oh my gosh, the responses from Gemini has just been amazing. But I need all of them. But for design, Silhouette Studio, Photoshop, and Canva. Now, some people, are using like the Affinity. Even with that, they don't have a strong AI component to it. So with designing with AI, Canva is needed. If you are not utilizing Canva, you can create a free account and just try it out and just kind of see. Join our classes where we'll show you like how you can, soft launch and kind of include Canva into some things. Even if you create somewhere else, how can you then use Canva to enhance it? And like kind of just add those little touches to it. That's going to be in our Canva design class, but you have to go through our Canva 101 in order to qualify, because that is a prerequisite, because I need for you to understand what Canva can do and what it cannot do, so that you can fully, just take advantage and like just really soak up all of the good design information. Okay. So that is the 3 programs in a nutshell, and what they do, their pros and cons, and like how you can use them. Okay. I use and feel comfortable with Canva, but I would need help with Silhouette Studio Basics. Thank you. I have not used Photoshop at all. We have the absolute best, like the absolute best Silhouette class, because I'm breaking down the tools and functions. In order for you to be really self-sufficient and for you to be confident and just feel like you can just make anything, like you can look at something and be like, okay, I know I can do that in Silhouette Studio, and then go and try it just to try it out. Our program breaks down every single essential tool and function, what their uses are, how they work with other things. And once you get that understanding of how it works, as long as you keep practicing, and like stuff like our design challenges, this is where we're combining the different tools, and you can see how you create this by doing this. So we have 7 design challenges on our website that you can purchase. We're going to end up doing some more. I probably will do them before. I normally don't do them until the last quarter of the year. I'm probably going to start doing those a little bit sooner in the year, instead of the last month of the, I say last quarter, it was literally like the last month of the year in December. But if you go through those, you'll start to see how all of these tools and functions kind of work together to create different things. So I highly recommend that you look into our classes and programs within our academy. Incredible greetings, incredible greetings. Hello, hello, hello. She was like, I didn't know the uses for all of the Silhouette. I know a little about smart objects, but need to learn more about it. We have a Photoshop Essentials. I am all about essentials first. Before I really get into like designing with people and things of that nature, I recommend our essentials. So understanding Canva 101 is like the essentials of Canva. Silhouette Studio, Learn Silhouette Studio in 30 days is basically Silhouette Studio Essentials. And then we have a Photoshop Essentials, and it breaks down all of these things to give you the knowledge and information at the basic level. Don't skip over that. I know it's more exciting for someone to say, ooh, I have a class. I'm going to teach you how to design an all over shirt. You're going to do that, and they're going to click, and they're going to give you these elements and things of that nature. But then when you go to do it yourself, it's like, why is this not working? Because you don't understand, because your elements might be different, and what you're bringing in. Something as simple as the image that they use had a solid color background, and now you're bringing in something that's a little bit more complex. Okay, now what do I do with this? How do I remove it? Because the background remover in Photoshop isn't always the greatest. I've shown that. Like you would think, because that is the professional program and that's like the most robust one, that you would like, it'll just be perfect, right? You'll click on it and it's going to, no, not the case. I've gotten better results with things like Remove BG. So I still, even though I have Photoshop, I still keep Remove BG, because sometimes it just removes the right amount of the background, and then I may have to go back in and kind of tweak some things. But Photoshop has done me dirty sometimes. Canva's background remover can be like, but it does not like white. If you have white on your edges and there's not like something else there, it will pull out all of the white, and then you can't really go in to like pull it back in the same way. It's a whole lot of. So there are some pros and cons to each of the programs, which is why I find that some people feel like Like I know because I've heard it, right? And it's like, well, I don't want to have to go back and forth. I want to do it all or the majority of it in one program. But the way that you have to do certain things in some programs, you will spend more time trying to do it there versus, okay, let me go over here, do this part, and I'm going to save it and bring it over here. Yes, you have to save it and transfer it over, but you're going to get it done faster. And in our industry, when you're designing so much, this is the part that you guys don't charge enough for. Now, my students, like, they're working on their mindset, but now, like, going into it, give them a couple months to feel more comfortable. They're not going to be they're already starting to charge for designs. I just need them to kind of up their skills a little bit more, get a little bit more confident so they can charge a little bit more for designing. But that's normally the part that you're not being compensated for the most, which is the design part of it. And you gotta, like, make it where you can get more designing done in a shorter period of time, in a shorter period of time to maximize your profits. So for me, I will start one place, end somewhere else, and then come right back to the other program to, like, finish it off. So some people say they mainly print from Photoshop. I've printed from Silhouette Studio. I've printed from Photoshop. Now, if you are utilizing, like, certain papers or certain inks and you're utilizing a, what's the thing called? A color profile. Color profiles are not, like, universal because it's based off of the type of paper you're using, the type of ink, the specific printer. So you can have different color profiles for each type. So how something prints out on glossy is different than how it prints out on matte or satin, how it prints out for sublimation. So Photoshop allows you to customize your color preference, like your how it will print out, and even how it looks, being able to switch between CMYK and Adobe RGB. So there are some benefits for that, but I've printed things from Silhouette Studio and have gotten the same exact results printing that same thing from Photoshop. And thank you for bringing up print, because with Canva, what most people don't realize, because they have a big icon that says print, that just means, okay, you're going to design things here that are more so for print purposes. Like, the end goal is to print it versus it being digital. Canva, you cannot, I repeat, you cannot print directly from Canva. You have to save it and then print it from a different software. If you're saving it as a JPEG or a PNG that is to the exact size, or you have to save it as like or you have to save it, bring it back into Canva on the size paper that you plan to print to, or have a vendor print to, and then you have to resize it. So you cannot print from Canva. And if you are somebody that wants to use your phone, you will need to bring that back into Canva. If that is something that you're not quite understanding and you would like to see a live representation of that on this live, go ahead and drop a 3 in the chat for me if you need to see that in real time to understand what I'm saying. Okay. I have really learned a lot from your style of teaching. It's perfect for me. Aw, thank you. So I want to show basically, so this is a good one. And actually I'm going to use all of these as examples. And I have another one of this one that has the embossing on it, but I don't know what the hell I did with it. Tumblers are so easy. Like, they're the easier thing for me to kind of show designing things. Hold on. Oh, is this it? Nope, that's not it. That's one that's just a little messed up. I gotta find that. Okay. So I'm going to use these tumblers to kind of give you a breakdown of the different programs and how you can utilize them to create different designs, okay? So let's start with, I was going to start with this one. So it's this big thing with some instructors, like coaches and teachers, in the craft space, in the creative space, when it comes to making invitations or t-shirts or tumblers or mugs or clack fans, handheld fans and signs and banners and things like that. And they'll say, okay, learn to design so that you don't have to go and buy anything from Etsy or design bundles or anything, like, all of these different places. And a template would be, okay, taking MJ out, right? Already having this set up for you. So it already has the graduation cap, having the 2025 or whatever year set up already, having the outlines where you can click on it and change this to a color, click on the white, make that a color, click on the inside and either fill it with a pattern or fill it with solid color, right? Now this part down here, it would be kind of hard to have something where, okay, everybody's name needs to be arched, because I arched his name because this is his whole first name. This is not two names. His first name is Makai Jeremiah. So in order to make that fit and the letters can be a little bit bigger and a little bit more legible, I had to curve it. If I would have just gone straight across, it would have had to be a lot smaller. So these are things like design-wise that I like to kind of teach. Doing this in different programs, like let's say Silhouette Studio, it's not a button where you just kind of click on it and it just curves it, right? Cricut has one where you can arch text and it just makes the curve where it's going to basically try to, like, at the end of the day, the max for it is like a circle. You can't adjust how it curves. Whereas with Silhouette Studio, when I can put a circle, I can put an oval, so I can have a slight bend versus a really dramatic bend, how it would be in Cricut Design Space. Canva is the same way. If I were to go in and arch it, it only moves a certain way because it's eventually trying to get it, like, it's gonna, based on the length of it, however it arches, to basically get it to go into a circle. Now, Photoshop is a little bit different because it has warping, and that's like a click of a button. It has what's called basically like envelopes, and it has these pre-designed ones, and you can like warp things and change it and stuff like that. So they're all different. When I'm doing something like this in Canva, I don't really like how his name comes out all the time. So I will design it in Silhouette Studio and then put the offsets on it and then save it. And I will bring that particular like PDF file or whatever. And there's other ways that I'll bring it over also. And I can bring it into Canva, and then I can change the colors of the different layers. So if I really, really want to do something in Canva, I have to design it in Silhouette first, and then I'll bring it over so that I can add it to the design. But this was all done in Silhouette Studio. Knowing how to design or knowing how to use the program, you would not need a pre-made template to put the grad cap. You may purchase a grad cap because your skills may not be there to create this grad cap with all of these like little elements, and you see like how this is, right? If you learn a program, you definitely could create this element from scratch yourself. It's just a lot of shapes and knowing how to adjust edit points or making additional shapes and then subtracting and things of that nature. But you may just need to purchase this element. Or with Canva, somebody who is an actual graphic design artist would have created this, and they just made this particular element available for you to customize. So you can end up buying this. Now, something like this glitter background, that takes a lot of patience. to create that background because it's all digital. It's just a mixture of colors. It's not like someone just takes a picture of glitter, which I've seen those as well, and then they're putting those like online. Like this is a digital rendering. There's just a lot of like little squares and different colors, and it's like it just a certain way that this has to be done. The average person would not have the patience to create glitter from scratch. So this is where you end up purchasing those assets, purchasing those elements that you can then put in. Now you can literally have one color, as long as it's not black, white, or gray. As long as you have at least one colored like background like this, you can make it an infinite number of colors in Silhouette Studio, Photoshop, and even Canva by adjusting the hue, the saturation, the contrast, the gamma, things of that nature. Each of these programs have that option. This started out as a totally different color. When I first started like with this one, because I had someone, I did an orange one. I ended up changing it. I got a set of these and they were a bunch of different colors, but I never worry about, oh, that's not the exact color that I want, because I have the skill set and I have the know-how of each program, and even in Silhouette Studio, to make it the color that I want. You can change the tint. You can change, like I said, the saturation, the contrast, the hue, the tint, the gamma, things of that nature to create this color. Then we go in and we're going to bring in the picture. Now, Silhouette Studio doesn't have a click of a button where I was able to remove the background. This particular picture was taken in front of a bunch of balloons. So I could go in and individually, using edit points, go around it, and I would crop it away to be able to remove the balloons. Well, that seemed too much, right? Like who wants, because there are programs where you can click a button. So I could have opened this in Photoshop, used the background remover, and then save that, bring it back into Silhouette Studio, because this is a vector-based design. It's with that. I can take it into Canva, use their background remover, save it as a PNG, bring it over into Silhouette Studio. Use remove BG, easily click of a button, remove the background, which is what I did, bring that into Silhouette Studio. So like I said, that's one of the limitations. Silhouette Studio does not have a background remover integrated into its program. So you would have to use something else to bring it back in to be able to put it like here. Okay. And then, of course, we have our text. Any of the programs could do the text. Now, when it comes to, like, let's say the way this is here, and there's an outline, there's a shadow and things like that, I'm able to do that in Silhouette Studio, or even, well, I'm going to say Silhouette, because you can do shadows and things in Photoshop, but not to this extent. So Silhouette Studio, because it's vector, if you look, my outlines have sharp edges, just like the text. Well, in Photoshop, you can't really do that. When you go and you put what's called a stroke in Photoshop, it rounds everything off. You don't really have that option. Now, if it's something that's still in vector format, it's just a shape and things of that nature, you have the stroke, and it has like different corners and things, and you can kind of make it, kind of put that behind it. But you have to make sure that if you rasterize it or like flatten it, you cannot do anything else to that. Anytime you use the layer effects, it's going to round it off. Now, same thing with the drop, like the shadow that's here. So in Studio, you can only have sharp edges, but I like the sharp edges. In Photoshop, if you do drop shadow, it's a little bit more blurry. I mean, you can adjust the blur on it, but you don't get those really, really sharp corners. So even if I did this whole thing in Photoshop, I would actually go into Silhouette Studio to do this outline, save it, and then bring it into Photoshop, because I would not be able to get sharp edges in Photoshop. Hopefully this is making sense to you guys. Okay. And then let's say the little, what's this thing right here? The husky, the little, it's a husky, not a pup. When it comes to like the colors in vector format, I'm able to click on any of those areas in Silhouette Studio, fill that in with the color. Canva, you cannot do that, like especially if it was like a JPEG image, or depending on how it was, it's a little bit harder. Like I created that one in Studio, like by tracing something and having all these elements. Photoshop, you would have to like click on it, select that area, either use the brush tool or you can use the paint bucket to drop it in, or you would have to go to a layer style, make that a color overlay normal, and it still may not have sharp edges. Then you have to go back again, click on a certain area. If it's picking up, you got to change the tolerance, whatever, for it to pick up on a certain area, and then repeat that process because you don't have like vectors unless each one of these pieces is going to be individual layers, but then now they can shift and move and stuff like that. So there, like I said, there's pros and cons. It would be a lot easier for me to adjust the color of this particular element in a program like Studio, maybe even like Illustrator, because that's vector, and then I can bring it in. So hopefully you guys are seeing the, these programs can help each other. They can be beneficial to each other. Same thing like with the outline and things of that nature. So this is something that the what's this thing called? The glitter background. I can easily crop that background to these numbers in Studio. In Photoshop, I would either have it there and then you have to do a clipping mask, or you have to save this background to your patterns, define it as a pattern, and then select those and go to the layer style and say fill with pattern, put that in there, right? Canva, you cannot do that. Canva, it has to be a frame in order for you to fill it in. So you can't just type something up and then fill it in with whatever like digital background that you want in Canva. You have to use an outside program to either do it and bring it back in, or you have to use an outside program because you want to use a font that was there or an element from there. You have to take it into an outside program, trace it, put it in a program where you can go and like fill it in. And then when you save it as a either a PSD or a PDF and bring it back in, it will be a frame. And then you can fill it with any type of pattern. But you cannot natively do that from Canva. This is why it's best to learn another program if you're ever wanting to create something like this, because you cannot do it in Canva natively. Hopefully, am I making sense? If I'm making sense to you right now, drop a 4 in the chat. If you're understanding, drop a 4 in the chat. Yes, so it does. That's what I said. You can use Canva to remove it. Canva purchased the rights to remove BG from Paddle. And so now that technology is incorporated into Canva as long as you have Canva Pro. It's a part of the magic edits. Is this helpful for you guys? Let me know in the chat. Let me know if these types of lives are helpful for you, or if I should just discontinue them because it's just too overwhelming. Okay, I don't know if it's a major delay. Are you guys understanding? Like, did that breakdown help you? I was looking for a number 4 if you understood how I was showing, or how trying to explain how I could have used all 3 of those programs to create that design. Okay, very helpful. All right, cool beans. All right, awesome. Okay. All right, so now let's take a look at, this is a tumbler that I designed for Class of '99 for their alumni picnic. The majority of this design was set up in Silhouette Studio as far as the layout, right? This piece right here, like this part right here, this brush stroke actually came from Canva. The original of this is very, very pixelated. This is their like little logo. And I don't know why this looks red on my screen, but it's definitely not. I don't know, it looks weird there. But this right here was they've had this for years. So it's like an old school. I don't think anyone, probably other than me now, I'm sure somebody probably have taken the time to, but most time I see it, it's like the same one and it's not the greatest like version of it. Or people will just take it into Photoshop and do, like I said, where they need to change the color, like for breast cancer awareness or something like that. They will just go into Photoshop and either use select by color, or they're going to do magic select and click in certain areas, and they're just going to do an overlay of color. Well, I vectorized this in Silhouette Studio. Actually, you know what? I think there might be a version that's vector that's on vector stock. I don't know. But I went through and I traced it and I cleaned it up and I vectorized this to where I can make it whatever colors I want, like whatever tones. Because with sublimation, because I am using a converted printer, the colors can be a little bit wonky. So this allows me to use my color chart to put in the exact color code that I need to produce the color that I want. All right. Yeah, so the top part and this part here was all done in Canva. I think that was it. So the CC, in order to interlock and have all of those, this was done in Silhouette Studio. Photoshop, I would not be able to get those sharp corners. It would round it off. So I could not do that there. But now the color in the background, because I actually end up eventually putting an orange overlay. Now you can somewhat do it, like remove the color, make it black and white, add red and stuff to change the tint of it. But Photoshop is easier because you just go in and you just put an orange overlay over it and you do the blend mode and it's going to make it easier. So for that part, I went in, I downloaded that image, I took it over to Photoshop, I put the overlay on it, I saved it as a JPEG. Now I can take this into Silhouette Studio and then just kind of use it that way, because it was important for me to have this where it was just solid. I eventually took it back into Photoshop. Probably could have stayed over there because I did eventually take this finished design into Photoshop and I used the embossing feature to where the numbers and things, they were no longer flat, they were raised. They were just like that embossed look. So I probably should have just stayed my behind over there because I end up going right back. But something like right here, I'm not sure if you guys can see it. Oh, yeah, the back of it kind of messed up on that one. But the fade right here, right? You can see the fade. You cannot create that in Silhouette Studio. You cannot create that in Canva. So somebody will say, oh, whatever, I do fades all the time. No, you are utilizing a fade or a blur or whatever cover, whatever you always want to call it, that was created in a program like Photoshop with the brushstroke. Someone created that, saved it as a PNG with a transparent background, and they basically gave the rights to that particular asset, that element, to Canva, where you can do a search and you can find it and you can put it in there. So you are essentially just using a PNG and adding it to your design, but you cannot create your own fade in Canva or Silhouette Studio. We sell fades. Now you can create a lot of things with the fades and just give it different effects. We sell fades. I went into Photoshop, I created, I have all these different colors. Now, someone that's just utilizing Silhouette Studio, they don't have Photoshop, they don't know how to use Photoshop, they are able to take those, crop them into certain areas of their design, and now they're going to have like this faded look. They can mix multiple of those fades to create a custom gradient. So you can create a lot of custom things, but it might require you to bring in an element that was created and saved from somewhere else. That's all Canva really is. Nothing that you see in those elements is created directly in Canva, unless, of course, it's AI and it just, like you said, okay, I want a gold, make it look like a Mylar balloon, and I want it to be the number 4 in a rose gold or whatever. And so now it's going to create that for you. That's all AI. But as far as like putting things together and subtracting and making, you cannot technically do that in Canva because you cannot subtract elements. Now you can go and have a solid background and use shapes and put it there, and then you will have to save it, bring it back in, remove the background so that you have just that piece. But that's a whole lot. It's a whole lot, right? So this particular one, and then what was the final one was a combination. Like I literally use all 3 programs to create the final tumbler because of the different effects that I wanted. My dolphin one, I could technically create this in Silhouette Studio, like all parts of it. It will take a long time to create this custom camo, but that's just a bunch of shapes and you're just layering them. Now, the amount of shapes, Silhouette Studio is not really meant for a lot of graphics, so it can shut it down, whereas Photoshop is meant to be able to handle that. So having all of these different things. A camo background is made up of so many different shapes, and you're just filling in the different colors. Like I said, could I create this in Silhouette Studio? There's a drawing feature. There's the edit point. So I could go in there, create all these different shapes, layer them all together, and then just fill in, group them by, you can't group it because it'll bring it up, but you can select by color, change all these different things, and create that. Then you just have text. Then you have, I can text to path to create the exact arch that I want. This same thing right here. I'm going to create a line. I'm going to arch it. I'm going to add in some little shapes to make it look like the threads of a football. I could create all of this in Silhouette Studio. Canva, you don't have the ability to design and taper off the edges. Like, see how this is? That's something that's done with edit points and adjusting those handles, and I can make this line and I can taper it off. You cannot taper off in Canva. There are no controls to modify an element to a specific point. Hopefully that makes sense. I could do it in Photoshop, but not to the same degree. I would have to use things like liquify and like push it in, or I would have to like draw it out. Now, if I'm using the pen tool and I'm doing it like as a shape, and it's still in a pen, it's still in shape format, you can click on it and you can adjust the handles. But if it's rasterized, then you cannot. Like if you make a mistake and go in there and rasterize, unless you're going to undo, you have to like recreate it. But Silhouette Studio, even when you convert to path, you're always able to adjust those handles as long as it was not saved as a JPEG and then brought back in. Anything that you create in Silhouette Studio, until you save it as a JPEG or a PNG, it has edit points to it that you can adjust and manipulate. Okay. So this whole thing, and of course, you're just bringing in this was an Action SVG to where I can adjust the colors for the logo here. This is one that's just glitter. So the glitter part, we're not creating in any of these programs. A really great artist is going to create all this glitter stuff, and you're able to just change the colors. But being able to make this line, and then the second line for the pencil, and then another rectangle, and then another rectangle. Now, once we get to this part, now this one could have been just a regular rectangle that comes up to this, like above where the corner is, and then it's the rectangle. Someone will look at this and just think, oh my God, this is, oh, I wish I can create. This is literally nothing but rectangles. That is it. It's just rectangles, right? So In Canva, you could create the different rectangles that are, what's those things called? Frames, but you cannot adjust the size of it, the scale. Once you put it in there, it fills the whole thing in. You can't shrink down the scale. I can make this glitter look like chunky glitter, or I can make it look like very fine glitter by adjusting the scale. I can do that in Silhouette Studio. I can do that in Photoshop. You cannot do that in Canva. So even if you wanted to create this in Canva, when you go to put that glitter in there, it's going to be too big. So you would need to create a chunky glitter in Silhouette Studio or Photoshop and save it. And in that same color, you would need to have it also like scaled down where it's a nice fine glitter, like look, to fill it, put it into that frame if you wanted to have this fine glitter look versus it looking really, really chunky. And in Silhouette, these will all be like rectangles. And then I'm just going to add points and then just go up, down, up, down, up, down. And in Canva, you can somewhat create this where you would still have a rectangle, but where the brown part is, you may want to put triangles there. The issue with that, though, is you look on this, it's all smooth, right? There is no separation. If you do them as triangles in Canva, you're going to see a separation between each triangle. And the way that these are done, like, okay, if we follow the shape, this should technically come down here. And then if you were doing the other side, they will cross over each other. So that's going to look a little bit wonky. So to get this look, you can create a version of this, but it would not be exact because Canva does not allow you to merge or weld anything. Once you kind of create it, you would have to create it in a different program, like create the up and down, save it as a frame, and then bring it back in. So it's a very powerful, it's a very useful software. I use it. I love it. I could not imagine my business without Canva right now once I incorporate it. And I've been using it for, man, probably about like 6 years now. Yeah. Because it came out like I was using it even before the pandemic. Wasn't like as much because it was more so like just kind of like Instagram things. And I wasn't really into Instagram, but I kind of played around with it. But I've been using it for a really, really long time now. So it's certain things you just cannot do. But I could create like this design in both Silhouette Studio and Photoshop and have everything look seamless and smooth. Okay. I know my baby was in high school, officially a high schooler. Can't believe it. Now, this is a base file. So let's say someone created this base file. You're not really equipped with doing it, and someone, i.e. me, create this base file, have it in my template vault, have it available for purchase. You can then take this file and you can add to it. This is where this one now comes in. So now you can do with like this part in any program. You can go ahead and put it in Canva where you're just typing a name. It might even come out a little bit better because you can have actual fades to give things lift and stuff like that. So you can do a version of like this by putting multiple letters and then just adjusting the border on it and stuff like that. You're just going to bring in an element. You're going to place it. So everything that is here, you can take this base one that you're either going to create yourself in Silhouette Studio or Photoshop, save it as a JPEG, and then bring it over to Canva to add these elements. Or you can purchase this, where someone already has this set up. They may have one set up like a crayon already, and you're now just going to customize it. You do not have to be a graphic artist, a graphic designer to where you can customize it, yes. But being the person that can create this peacock. No, although she was AI. AI is great for that. But being able to create this peacock, you don't have to be the person that can do all of that, know how to do the shading and all of those things. Now there's AI to create different elements. Would you be able to use AI to say, I want it to be a pencil background that has a peacock. I want the word teach in yellow, blue, purple, pink, and orange. And could you tell AI to create this? Absolutely not. But if you have certain elements, you learn via the professor how to then bring these elements into a design. Where do you position them at to make sure that they're going to fit onto your substrate beautifully like this? Okay, so there's that one. Last one. This particular one, I used Silhouette Studio, Photoshop. I don't think there's no Canva in this one, but the grad ones down here, although I think because of how that, I think that was originally done in Photoshop, but I could do that in Silhouette as well. You would find a picture of some grads tossing up their caps. You're going to remove the background, bring it in, trace it, and then just fill it in with black or whatever color. So I'm able to technically do this in Silhouette Studio. The background of this had what's called blend modes. There's a lot of different blend modes to it to create like certain looks. It's kind of hard to see because there's so much stuff over it. That's something that has to be done in Photoshop. I would not be able to do that in Silhouette because it doesn't have blend modes. My fades, although I already had the fade bars in my library in Silhouette Studio, I originally created these fades in Photoshop to where I'm able to put them behind elements and crop them down, and it's going to give me this look. Silhouette Studio works in layers, so I'm able to send things to the back, bring it to the front a little bit easier than I can in Canva. Canva's on, like, I like that you can see the images, but being able to have that open, like you always have to, like, if you want to do something else, that ends up closing. You have to go over here, open it. Whereas in Silhouette Studio, I can have my layers panel open and I can just easily move things around. So I prefer that. In Canva, if your element has this large box around it as a PNG and it has all this negative space, you can't select the things behind it. Silhouette Studio technically is the same way, but when you trace and detach with Silhouette Studio, it gives you, like, it's now contoured to just that particular element, and you don't have this large box, so I can select things behind it. This is also an issue when it comes to Photoshop, and if you have this large box that has all of this stuff, you cannot select what's behind it. So for selecting things, Silhouette Studio becomes easier for me to select something and just move it around. Again, the text and like how I like my outlines. If it's a text that has sharp edges, I want my outlines to be sharp. I don't want them to be blurry. Therefore, I have to use Silhouette Studio, or I would be able to use like Illustrator to create the 3D look at the bottom. I cannot use Photoshop for that, so I kind of get that look. I need to use and still have the sharp edges. I have to use Photoshop or Illustrator, a vector-based program for that. Now, the images here, I took them into Photoshop. I did not want the silhouette drop shadow because it's sharp edges. I wanted it to be a little bit softer. So that there, the shadow behind it, you can see like behind it, it's blurred. I do that in Photoshop, save it as a PNG, and then brought that over to fill it all in Silhouette Studio. What's these things called? The little sparkles. I can create one in Silhouette Studio, white line. I have a white fade, like a circle one that I had to create in Photoshop, bring it over. So if I wanted to, could I make that over there? Yes. It was better for me to make this in Photoshop. I created the initial one. I turned it into a brush. So now to be able to get that look, you can set it and tell it to be random. You can change the size of different things. So now all I just went was, and it instantly created this look of like all of these little sparkles without me having to individually place them how I would have to individually place them and size them in Silhouette Studio. This is where like these programs come into play to be able to create things with ease for something like that, where I create one and then I know how to adjust the brush tool to make it scatter, to make it where it's going to give me smaller ones. So once I just take that brush and just go, it gave me that. I'm going to save it as a PNG with a transparent background. Now I'm able to use that in whatever program I want, and I don't have to recreate it every single time. Are you guys with me? All of these programs serve a purpose. They can make your life easier once you learn it, but you have to want to learn it if you want to design to that level. Now, it's okay to not learn each one of them. If you're someone where you're like, okay, I just need something where I can efficiently plug and play. Even Canva won't really give you everything. My recommendation is at least learn Canva and Silhouette Studio. Like, if you don't have to have a machine, you do not have to have a machine in order to use Silhouette Studio. You can download it for free. Anyone can use it. At least get that, because there are going to be certain things that you need to be able to do. And there is a way to be able to save stuff from like utilizing the free version. It's a third-party app to be able to save it and then bring it into Canva. If you have Canva Pro, you can remove the background if needed and things of that nature. But you want to have more than one program. They complement each other. Any questions for me before I hop off? I am more than willing to answer any questions you guys have, anything that you're confused about. If you have questions about any of the particular programs, let me know. No question is a dumb question, a silly question. If you don't know, you don't know. You have me on. You're able to get your question answered for free because I charge for this. I have paid class. I have a creative lounge. I have one-on-one sessions. We have creative business that meets tonight, 7 p.m. You can still enroll in that. But you'll have an opportunity to pick my brain, ask questions, get answers to questions, inquiries, things you just thought about, things that you're frustrated about, you can't figure out. Now will be the time to ask those questions. So the floor is open. I'm giving you guys an opportunity without having to pay me any coins to get the answers that you need. Y'all can't hear me. My bad. If there's any type of design or technique that you guys would like to see me do in either of the programs, you can also let me know that. So I'm not going to do like an all over shirt, like a full on, but if it's something kind of simple and it's like, okay, I wondered like, how is this done? I can't figure this out. How are they making this intertwine like that or get this look? Let me know and I could possibly show you in any of the programs. Okay. Oh, wow, Myrna, you are way back, way, way, way back. And I'm wondering how many people are like not at this point where I'm asking if you have questions. Because for her to put a 4, She is way back there. What is your, okay, so no questions. What has been your biggest takeaway from this? What's one thing that you learned from this live broadcast? Even if you're watching the playback of this, go ahead and drop it in the comments. And just for future reference, if you guys see that I'm on live, like click the live one. I mean, you can always go back and watch it, but then you end up missing opportunities to maybe ask questions if you watch it and you're just kind of like, you catch it wherever, like whenever you kind of come on. If I've been on for an hour, but you're watching it from the beginning, you're then going to miss the opportunity to ask questions and things of that nature. So if you're ever watching live, especially over on YouTube, click, I think it says live, or click to the end of it so that you are on the actual live portion. Wow, can't believe no one has questions. No one whatsoever has any type of question. And you also didn't ask me, like, no one had any takeaways from this. You didn't learn anything new. No one learned anything new. No one has questions. All right. Well, even if you're not verbalizing, my goal is always to help you guys learn something new, to help you on your journey of creativity, making your life a little bit easier to make money if that is what you're doing this for, or even if you're just doing it for personal reasons. It's like all personal type things that, it helps you not be frustrated. Like someone like me, I don't do rhinestones, but I know how to do rhinestones for times like my son's jacket. So I'm not sure if you guys can really see it on there. But MJ's jacket for prom was rhinestoned by yours truly. I created those templates, like I created the designs myself. The back of it actually says MJ and it has a design. So I hand placed those circles in Silhouette Studio, and then of course cut it with my Cameo and brushed those stones in, pressed it here at home. So I was able to customize, and he got so many compliments on his prom suit, because I was able to customize that myself with the skills that I have acquired over the past couple of years. So you cannot shade in Silhouette Studio, but you can use fade bars to create the appearance of shades. Okay, so let me. All right, so this is one that I'm going to end up doing. There's a question in a group, so I'm going to show, like, because she wanted to remove this, but what are you going to put there? Like, there's, oh man, it's just so much when it comes to designing that. I know some people kind of have this vision in their head, but there's some things that you have to end up thinking about. So I'm going to end up doing a thing for that. So let's just come over here, and one of my things I love to use is a star. Don't ask me why. I just love using stars. And so now I'm going to convert that to a path. I'm going to open up my library, and I'm going to go fade. Well, I'm just now seeing your question about the shading in Silhouette Studio. So I'm just going to bring, well, I didn't mean to do it that way. So let's undo. I got to click off, and we're going to merge. And all right, hold on. And merge. Okay. So let's say I have come on, collapse. These two, right? I always duplicate. I can have this be a solid color in the back like white or black, and you would take your fade and you can stretch it depending on how far you want it to go. I'm going to send that to the back. You have to make a duplicate of the base shape. If you don't, and you simply go to crop, it's going to fill it in. You're not going to have the bottom layer, the bottom part of it. So you have to duplicate it. Quickest way is to click on it, learn your keyboard shortcuts, and you're going to hold down Alt and click. That's going to duplicate it. It's going to look like nothing changed, but I promise you it did. I personally always recommend having your fill open. I'm going to open up my modify, and I recommend removing the color. Again, it looks like nothing changed because the one on the bottom is white, but I'm going to hold down Shift, click on the fade, and we're going to crop. I'm going to bring this one here. I'm going to leave a little bit of the white. I'm going to send it to the back. I'm going to hold down Alt, click, remove the color, hold down Shift, click on the fade, and crop. Right? Now, let's say, well, that's too much white or that's too much blue. In Silhouette Studio, you can click on this, and you cannot do this in Canva because it locks it to the proportion. So if I come here and I go pan, I can move this up and expose more white. I can click on the bottom one and I can pan that up and move that one. And see how if I go up to where there's none, it's not enough at the bottom. I can also go scale to fill that in. So you cannot technically shade, but you can use fade bars. If I wanted to, so like when I had that bar, and let's just say we're going to make this one white. I'll shrink this down because that's just way too big. All right. I'm going to select all of this, and I like to remove my line color once I have color there. And I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to get my black fade. So I can create, I'm going to flip this. No, I didn't. I said vertically. The illusion of, I'm going to shrink it down. I'm going to send that to the back. That's a little bit too high, so maybe about there. All right, so we're going to click here. Actually, I'm going to click here, hold down Shift, click on that, remove the color. Hold down Alt, click, remove the color, hold down Shift, click on my black, and I'm going to crop because I want it to stay inside of the star. Now, if I bring this white to the front, I have shading on the top and bottom. I don't really want that on the top and bottom. So it's a couple ways that you can do this. For me, the easiest way, I'm going to just go here, hold down Shift, click on that black fade and subtract. So now I just have that like shadow part at the top. So that's how I would be able to like do that to create this look of having it's like it's faded in the back. Even if I make this like this whole thing green, but then now I have this piece. And if I wanted to, I could, I'm going to flip it like that. And so it will look kind of like it's, or I could have done the whole thing as well, but how it was originally. But let's say if I don't want to go back in, if I already did that, just duplicate it. So there's more than one way to kind of skin a cat. My biggest takeaway is that all the different programs can benefit you when designing. You validated a lot of what I'm doing design-wise. So hearing you speak on these subjects lets me know I am doing it correct. Let's see. All right, so we did those. I took away that the programs can be used all together to create. I feel like if you don't learn to use Silhouette and Photoshop, you are cheating yourself because they complement each other. Canva as well. Don't sleep on, I mean, until like this day and age, you cannot sleep on Canva. I need to create that Letterman design cup. I have been looking at your design, but still haven't attempted it. Okay. I love your sound effects. You have given a lot of information, the machine for embossing, which one? So it's, I mean, so it's a way that it's the Curio, but it all depends. Like it's not like your traditional embossing, the way that it's kind of like set up. So be mindful of that, but it would be the Curio. Disbursement of the brush can be changed, and I can take random designs from Silhouette and make a brush for it in photo. Well, I would actually wouldn't have taken it from Silhouette. I really would have created that, like, because you can create that start like that initial one in Photoshop as well, where you're going to create it, you're going to taper it, and you're going to use the brush, like, because I had, in order to get that white piece that is just a brush. So I opened up Photoshop. So if I were to come over here to my brush tool and we'll make this a little bit bigger. Now, I meant to zoom in. So see, this doesn't have a whole lot of blur around it. I would need to make the brush big. I would need to make the brush not that dang on big now, or actually change the softness. I wouldn't want it to be that light in the middle. So changing your well, dang. Okay. That was a little, I realized I went up that high. That's a little bit too big. Oh, whoa. Oh, that was silly me. I put it right on top of this layer. So let me just undo. I didn't realize I didn't add another layer. So I'm going to come back to the brush and I'll go to like here and you'll see that one. But if I take my hardness and same one, they will look, oh, come on, I hit Z. Now they were the same size brush, but simply changing the hardness on it, I was able, like this one looks a little bit more flared out. This one has more color, less blur along the edges. These are things that you kind of have to learn. So someone will say, oh, to create this, you're going to just use the brush. Well, if you just go to your brush and you're not paying attention to it, and it's the hardest is that you do that, it's going to be like this. Now you can technically take that and, well, all these are on one layer. You can go into your filters. You can go to blur. You can go to Gaussian blur. And it's going to make the other ones even more blurry. But I want you to just to kind of see where I could take this and now create that. So if you made a mistake, it has to be on its own layer. But if you made a mistake, there are ways to kind of fix it without going back. So you can use things like Gaussian blur to fade off the edges as well. Or I could make that, I can put glow around. Like there's several ways to make certain things in like a program like Photoshop. You're welcome. Last call, any additional questions? Anything that you need to see in Canva, which I had open. Where is it? Oh, wait, wrong one. Oh, well, I guess I can go here, but any one of these. So if you have a question in Canva, Silhouette Studio, or Photoshop, speak now, forever hold thy peace. I'm already at 1 hour and 49 minutes. Let's make it a cool 2 hours. So I will answer questions for the next 10 minutes. I invite you guys to, we have a ton of classes, guys. You have unlimited access to the playbacks. Someone was asking about like, how do you print back and like print double-sided? In this class, we go over how to do that. So if you want to learn that, you're going to learn how to create candygrams and like cards and stuff, but you'll also learn the technique to print front and back. So this is a great class to take. But we have tons and tons and tons of classes here on the site. And well, I have to take this off because you had to be there in order to do that one. I'm going to take this one off. But we have a lot of other classes available for you. We also have the, if you go to our Academy site, we have like our creative business and things of that nature. You can also purchase class over here. Over here, you can use Cash App, Klarna, Afterpay, Affirm, depending on the amount. On the main site, you have just your regular payment processors in Sezzle or ShopPay if you want to break it up into buy now, pay later options. But we have a lot of different resources for you as far as classes. I highly recommend Essential Silhouette Studio, understanding Canva. In order to qualify for our design classes, you must have the prerequisite of understanding Canva 101. Okay, so I have come to realize that I think what you're referring to is if you're wanting to do DTF and you're saving as a PDF in Silhouette Studio and then taking it over to Photopea to save as a PNG. It's a little bit more like, it all depends on like how it's set up. And I'm finding that Photopea isn't like for that. Now I filter through Photopea a lot, but because of how it comes in and it's like the page is white, making it go transparent is not quite working. So that's something that will take a little bit more time because you have to create a new design, copy it, bring it over, then take out the back. Like it's a lot for do it when we are already 2 hours in. Photoshop is easier. Like, and Photoshop is only $9.99 per month. You don't have to get like the full suite if you want just Photoshop. But if you go in and you open that PDF in Photoshop, it's already going to have a transparent background. You literally just open it up, go file, export, save it as a PNG. It actually takes a little bit more work with Photopea. I forgot you can pan within a crop. It's true. If you don't use it, you lose it. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, Photopea is not as friendly as I would like for something like that. So if I came over here, file, open, so we're going to come here. If I want it to be in CMYK, I want it to be in RGB. And then I go, okay. You see the gray and white. It's going to be transparent. All I would have to do is go file, export, blah, 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 blah. Now, this is one of the things like, so it's so funny. I'm so glad you did. I can't go the whole thing in Photopea, but what's good about this is it works for most things. I had the transparency down in Silhouette Studio. So it's not coming out quite the same over here. And yes. So it is a little bit different than it is over here. Oh, wait, no. What happened here? Oh, actually, it's different than how it is on my small one. What happened to my white outline? The heck? Oh, that's kind of, I thought it was different. I didn't realize it changed over here. Huh. Oh, wow. Okay, so actually it came out perfect. I'm looking at the one that's over here that has the white outline. I'm like, okay, what happened? Oh, but it does happen though. When you have something that's transparent, I'm going to come back over here. The look is still different here than it is in Silhouette Studio when it comes to some of the areas that you take the transparency down in. Oh, see, it didn't give me my, wait, is my outline not there? Okay, what the heck? Oh, I know what I did wrong. Okay, no. All right, I'm going to undo this. I know what happened. I turned all of the line colors off instead of just the line color on the outside. Okay, there we go. Let me just click on this outside and go no color. And for some reason, yeah, that is a little bit off, but that's okay. File, save as, save to hard drive, and then portable. And there, let's just go to, okay, okay. And file, open. Oh, it's still saving. Oh, wait. File, open. All right. Sorry about that. Our internet switched off for a second there. Okay. So if I go file, open, and but I was before it cut me off, it had like it doesn't merge like in Silhouette Studio from Silhouette Studio, it's like not, I'm gonna say it's not, you have to weld it to avoid this for Photoshop. And sometimes your faded areas can look a little funky. It can look a little weird. Um, and I always have to go in and remember to weld. But there's that one. And this only looks like it's pixelated because I am zoomed in 314%. See, it looks very, very smooth. All right, now Photo P. See, this is what happens sometimes, and it drives me insane. And the page, so I'm going to click off. Like this part, it does get annoying in Photo P, depending on how it was set up. Because Photo P is kind of vector and raster. So depending on like how your design is set up, this is what you kind of end up with through Photo P. It's not quite like Photoshop. All right, come on now. What are you doing? Now, why won't it let me? Now, this is kind of weird because it will normally let you still select the individual parts, like just clicking on it. Right now, for some reason, it's not. I don't know why it's not letting me click on. And so, see, I had to do that one. Clipping mask. Or it actually needs to be here. There we go. This one needs to be here. So I would have had to go in and do the clipping mask for. So it's not quite the same because it is still leaving everything in layers. So that's, you know, when it comes to that part, it's a little wonky. It is a little wonky for this part. Okay, so no, that part goes there. I can't tell where this one goes because it won't let me click on stuff. But this is why I said Photo P, when it comes to certain things, it is a little funky. So I can't fully recommend it for doing that. There's certain things I can do, and I'll come in here and I'll do certain things. But for DTF, the best thing is going to be Photoshop, or find you a company that will allow you to submit the PDFs. I only submit PDFs for mine. So no, I somewhat showed it, but it just doesn't, even with that, I'm like, okay, I was on live and I was going back and forth. Like this one for some reason won't let me click, but normally it will at least let me click on stuff, and I would open up another one and then just select everything and then move it over and then kind of have to do certain, like the clipping mask. That's normally all you have to do, but for some reason this is acting real funky. But yeah, Photoshop $9.99, can't beat it. We also have a link for that. Let's see. What are my thoughts on Affinity? Oh, and then someone says, you showing how to use rhinestones. Well, I didn't really show how to use it. But I've done it. Let me see. Can I pull this up real quick? I want you guys to see. Do I have his stone template? I don't know if that's the full one, but so I had ones that I saw and they kind of gave me the baseline for, you know, just the shape of how I wanted to do things. I didn't follow it like exactly, but it gave me the shape and I put in the stones myself. So this was the original design, and then I kind of filled that in. So you see how my stones don't technically line up with it completely. I just use it kind of as a baseline for how I wanted to do it. And I had to place each one of those stones there. So that was always fun. That was so fun. Not really, but anything from a baby. And then the M, I just typed out a font and then I filled it in with the stones that I wanted. All right, so my thoughts on affinity. Let's go over that real quick and we'll close out there. So where I get my details from is local to Miami, where some people kind of do like the Jiffy and the other ones. Mine is local to I have three places that are local to Miami. I Love It Customs, Florida Flex, and Urban Inc. Those are the three companies that I would use. I don't really order from places and have them shipped. I highly recommend that each and every one of you find a vendor that is local to you for things like that versus having them shipped. So for me, I'm going to go to Urban Inc., Florida Flex, or I Love It Customs to get my DTF and every last one of them, because their process is you're submitting it via email. I'm able to send them my PDF and I don't have any issues. So now you can't order. I do believe each of them. Well, I know for sure because my sister orders from Florida Flex and has it shipped to Orlando all the time. And I know I Love It Customs does ship. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure Urban Inc. does ship as well. But these are all local to South Florida. I can't help you with all the ones that people use. It's like national brands or big brand. These are all small businesses. They've never done it dirty. Well, I'm not going to say that because some of the colors have been a little off with one of them. I'm not going to say which one it was, but I'm always satisfied when it comes to my prints from these companies. It's only been a few times where I'm like, I need you to reprint this. All right. So affinity. I have affinity. I can go on there and show you. I have the original one though. I don't know if there is something like majorly different when it comes to affinity 2. I wasn't going to spend my coins on it because I personally did not need it. Okay. From what I saw, so you have Affinity Designer and Affinity Photo. Affinity Photo is basically like the equivalent to Photoshop, but I feel like they kind of they don't really have a lot of vector stuff. Affinity Designer is supposed to be more like Illustrator, but it has a lot of Photoshop or raster-esque elements to it and the way that it moves. The way that you select things there and the interface of it, I personally don't really care for it. Like their blend modes are the same, their layer styles pretty much the same, but just selecting and moving things around, not really my favorite. Now, Affinity, you can do that same thing as far as like saving it, opening it, because we do that to send things to the roller and to add the cut contour line. So if you're not looking to pay for Photoshop every single month, you can do it with Affinity as well. That's like a one-time deal where you would take that PDF, open it over there, and then be able to like save it. So it's great for that. And some people use it for, like I said, to put the cut contour lines. Its interface is just a little bit weird for me. I can go into Illustrator, open up that PDF, apply the thing, and then just go and save. It's a little bit more steps in Affinity. Design-wise, I just can't, like, just for my functionalities and how I've learned to design and what I am accustomed to, it does not work for me. There are so many people, they live and breathe by Affinity. Now, I do believe some people kind of learn to accept it and work around it because it's a one-time thing. And it's like, I'm determined to learn this because I do not want to pay the cost for Photoshop or Adobe Suite. So they kind of like just learn it. I have worked with so many different programs. So based on that, like, Inkscape, a lot of people use it. They live by it because it's free. There's some functionalities of it that I'm just like, this is stupid, especially when it comes to certain designing for certain sizes. It's just stupid to me. The interface of Affinity doesn't work for my needs. I think I did a couple videos before the pandemic. I did a couple videos utilizing Affinity, kind of just showing, hey, in Solar Studio, you would do this, and Affinity, you have to do this, and it was way too many steps. It was very much giving me kind of like Cricut vibes, and baby, this is team too many steps. So I personally don't care for Affinity and its interface based off of how I design and how I like to move in programs. But if you want to take the time to learn it, to me, I feel like it's a larger learning curve because there are more workarounds versus like just kind of clicking of buttons for certain things. So, that's up to you on whether or not you decide to invest in classes and maybe somebody who's spent years working in it, and maybe they can help break it down a little bit better for you if you're wanting to just do one time versus paying monthly for Photoshop. To me, you can never convince me that paying for Photoshop is not worth it. But yeah, it just don't work for me. I have both. I have Affinity Photo and Affinity Designer because I do still do one-on-one sessions when somebody wants it. Now, if somebody comes to me and they're like, look, this is what I have, this is what I want to do, I'm gonna make it work in that software, and we will do the one-on-one session, and they've come out great. I just will never use it every day. Never, ever, ever. All right. So thank you guys so very much. Check out our classes. Also, the Creative Business Program. We are going to eventually shut it down because we'll be too far in, and then you'll have to wait for the next wave to kind of enroll. So join sooner than later. We do have a session tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to see your business grow, if you're tired of being frustrated with your pricing, just your systems, how to keep up with your orders, advertising, marketing, branding, things of that nature, terms and conditions, policies, shipping, things of that nature, join the Creative Business Program. Okay. Let's see. These brushstrokes are a game changer. Can I get the brushstrokes from Creative Fabrica? If you're referring to those fade bars, I'm not sure if you're referring to, because I can't tell where y'all are at in this whole live video. So these are brushstrokes on here. And if you are referring to this brush stroke like this, that particular one came from Canva, but I'm pretty sure somebody does have brush strokes like this, like as either PNG or SVG files on Creative Fabrica. Now, if you're referring to my fade bars where I use it to make that gradient, you can get that from our website, shop.hsinc365.com. Go to Essentials and you will see the fade bars. So that's something that we have created. It's already in colors for you. And you can go on there and purchase that if that's the brushstroke that you are referring to. Because I don't know where you are, because I showed this and I called this a brushstroke as well. So if you're on live and you're listening to me say this, you can kind of let me know which one you were referring to. But this brushstroke came from this one, and this one came from Canva. And then my fade bar ones are on my website. The fade bars, they are on our website. Just go to Essentials, and it's like the first or second listing. But if you just scroll down, you're going to see those fade bars. All right. Until next time, guys, have a great one. Continue to unlock your creativity. Be incredible. I will be live again because I have that panda. And there's some things that I want to break down about that for you to understand, like design wise. We may want certain things to happen, but we have to also think about other things. So after I kind of take care of the little one, I will be back to break down that panda that you got. I'm not sure if you're just joining, you didn't see it. I'm going to kind of go, you can see it like that. Okay, there we go there. And There we go. That right here. The question was about removing the peach, but you have to be aware of some things. Like you can't just remove it because of color. So I'm going to come back and break that down as well. So make sure that you guys follow us on all platforms, subscribe so that you can learn more about designs that you don't waste unnecessary time on things that cannot be done. All right. Until next time, guys. Have a great one. Peace.